George Thomas has arrived at the Charles Bass Complex in Nashville to begin serving that sentence. Good evening. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Robin Wilhoit.
And I'm John Becker. The 4 life sentences all stand without the chance of parole. The jury made that decision after convicting Thomas Tuesday in the torture and killing of Channon Christian and Chris Newsom. 10 News reporter Yvette Martinez joins us live downtown. Yvette, many were surprised at just how quickly this jury made this call.
Yes, Robin and John, after being sequestered in a Knox County hotel room for 9 days, this jury didn't waste any time sentencing the Michigan man they convicted on Tuesday. After deliberating only about 2 hours and asking only 2 questions, the jury announced their decisions. Not much emotion came from the victims' families in the courtroom as they heard the verdicts read by the foreman. Thomas's family left the courthouse after his attorneys got news of the sentence. The defendant remained stoic as Judge Richard Baumgartner upheld Thomas's sentence.
It is the verdict of the jury that you be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. So that, of course, will be the judgment of the court with regard to the 4 counts of murder. Of course, they will merge. But the judgment of the court is that you are sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
And shortly after the jury read their verdict for Thomas this afternoon, his defense attorneys released this statement saying, quote, "There are no winners in this case. The Christian and Newsom families have gone through unimaginable pain and loss. The Thomas family is forever saddened. Our thoughts and prayers are with all 3 families whose lives have been permanently changed by this tragedy. We will continue to pursue the significant legal issues with Mr. Thomas's convictions." And although Thomas Dillard and Stephen Johnson did not want to talk to us on camera, they did tell 10 News that they will both remain on this case. Although it is not a death penalty case, one of them will no longer be paid by the state as they continue to help George Thomas through the appeals process. Joining us now is defense attorney Don Bosch to talk a little bit about that. And right now, if the jury had come back with the death penalty, both of these lawyers would continue to be paid by the state. That is not going to be the case at this point.
No, unless there's a death sentence imposed, an individual is only entitled to 1 counsel, 1 appointed lawyer, that is at the state's expense. But Tom Dillard and Steve Johnson are partners in one of the finest firms in this town. Not only will those 2 be working on it, but they'll have many other resources within the office working on it, as all good criminal defense firms do. I know our office has been put in that situation before, and everybody does what needs to be done in order to represent someone, irrespective of whether they are a paying client on their own right or whether they're appointed to us by a court, such as the case in these murder cases. It's difficult, but they're going to do the right thing in terms of representing effectively and zealously, which is what their duty is, representing someone whether it be at trial or on appeal.
Now, Judge Baumgartner did indicate that he will put his order down in writing regarding Thomas's request for acquittal after he receives the state's response in writing. But the fact that he upheld the sentence after the jury left the room is a good indication that's just a formality.
Yes, it's best that he's going to clean up this record. He's been very, very careful, even sometimes when the public has seemed puzzled or even critical over some of the things that he has done and ruled on. He's been very careful to have a very clean record in this case. At the end of the day, that's going to serve the entire system well, because the likelihood of any significant reversal because of some judicial error is going to be very low. As I see it, I think the only issue that really is meaningful out of any of these 3 trials is the weight of evidence in this case. The first 2 cases, although they're certainly going to be appealed, did not seem to me to have a lot of appellate issues in them that made me think, gee, this may come back. But Judge Baumgartner is going to be very careful, going to issue a very thoughtful written ruling, likely denying their motion.
Now, one more trial scheduled May 10th, 2010. Vanessa Coleman will be in court facing similar crimes to what George Thomas just faced. Your thoughts?
Well, like this case, I mean, the Thomas case and the next case are very different cases from the first 2. That said, we have seen a jury say, we don't have a problem with the fact that you were minimally involved, if in fact that's what was demonstrated during this trial. We're going to hold you responsible for that act as we would a principal. So I would be very concerned. A little bit different. We have out-of-state lawyers in that case that may not be as familiar with our procedures and process in this court and this judge. So it's going to be an interesting case to watch from the outside, because I think it will take a different perspective than even the 3 put together that we've seen.
All right, Don, thank you so much for your perspective. And thanks for walking us through all of this legal language. And Robin and John, once again, George Thomas did arrive in Nashville. He is at the Charles Bass Correctional Complex. He arrived late this afternoon, shortly before 4 o'clock. Now, this is just a transitional facility. He will then eventually be moved on. It could take weeks before he is moved on to a permanent prison. Robin and John?
Incredibly long trial and long year for all the parties involved here. All right. Yvette, thanks so much. Now, both the Christian and Newsom families wanted the death penalty for Thomas, but they say they will take what they can get. They're confident the judge will not overturn Thomas's conviction or his sentence.
I think he's just making sure he does his job and does it well. I think he's just
taking his time.
He wants everything in writing. He wants everything done by the book, so it doesn't come back at him in the long run.
The families do face another trial this spring. The trial of Vanessa Coleman in that double murder case is set for May 10th, 2010.
Officials were back at the scene of a deadly West Knox County home explosion today.